Hey, what's up guys? It's Dan. So in this video, I'm going to be working on another RC. Now, I started RC drifting in about 2006, I believe, and my first chassis, because I didn't have a lot of money, was a Tamiya TT01. I'm pretty sure that was your first chassis too. That chassis came out in 2001, I believe, and it just recently got replaced with the TT02, which came out, I think, a few years ago, roughly. Anyway, I still have my TT01. Somewhat. And it is in here. Now, if you've been doing this for as long as I have, or maybe longer, you will have a bunch of spare parts. So, let me show you what I got in here. Got bags of parts. Try to keep them organized. More bags. More bags. Oh, here we go. Another bag. This is my TT01 chassis. It's somewhat put together. Now my goal for this is to attempt to make a rear-wheel drive TT01. Now I've seen that done before. I actually did some research in terms of like how they put them together, what custom parts they get, and how they look like. I have a 3D printer and some basic AutoCAD 3D modeling experience, so whatever I don't have or whatever I need custom, I can just make myself. Lucky me. Have a whole bunch of other spare parts here with a bag. Jeez. I also have more spare parts right here. I'm gonna go through everything to see what I need to make this into a basic performing rear-wheel drive RC Drift TT01. So wish me luck. Now, one thing that is important with rear-wheel drive RC drifting is the steering. Now, I'm not going to use the stock steering on the TT01. Now, let me show you why. So this is my Sakura D4 clone, and the steering range is quite high. Now, there's something I want you to pay attention to is how much this gets thrown around. Not by a lot, and that's mainly because the pivot point is right here. It's really close to the inside of the wheel. Now the TT01, on the other hand, this is a control arm and this is the upright. It goes into there. The wheel comes out right here. Look how much space there is there as compared to this. I believe the wheel hub is just shy of center of the tire. That's not a far distance. On the TT01, it's big, so it'll throw this wheel like a lot more. I want to try to keep it confined as it's steering, mainly for clearance issues, and so it looks right. I'll also be widening the track width of the TT01. It's so damn narrow. You can see where the control arms are compared to my D4 clone. Look at that. Now what I've seen is that these are not hard to lengthen. All you do is you go through your parts bin, all this crap right here, and you just take a ball end right here and you just screw it onto the end of it, like that. Now what this will allow you to do is to use any kind of upright that you want. I got some stock parts here for my D4 clone. And this is the stock upright that comes with it. I can actually use this right here. And you see the difference in terms of where that pivot point is on these uprights. I'll line up those holes. You can see how far out the TT01 goes. So I'm definitely gonna use these after I do what I can to lengthen the front control arms. And yeah, that'll work just fine. I go through all my parts, looking for any good pair of matching ball connectors. Then I carefully drill holes at the ends of the front lower control arms. So after some fudging around with parts and all that, I got these on. Now I'm using adjustable turnbuckles right here on both sides, so that'll also allow me to adjust the track width if needed. But you can see how much wider the front track will be once those uprights are mounted. I already have the spindle and the hex sub in there just to show you how it'll look like. And there's a lot of room here, so clearance should not be an issue. So it's coming along. As you can see, you got the top deck, rear suspension tied in, both front and rear bulkheads. I just need to figure out how to, I'm gonna do the front upper arms. Once I get that, I can mess with the steering. I'll see what I need to design and 3D print. This is a stock steering bell crank, by the way. That's how it looks like. And then this is a modified one meant for high angle that I just decided to 3D print. This might not work. I might need a lot more. I've seen how large angle arms look like for the TT01, and I don't think this will be enough for what I need. Alright, to show what I did here, I ran a long screw with a fitting inside there locked with a nut, and now I can mount whatever I want onto here for an upper control arm. This is just one option, by the way. I can still use a front upper control arm block like this, but I'm gonna see what I can do with that for now. Well, after rummaging more through my parts, I actually lucked out. I found these servo mounts, which I drilled that top hole larger so it'll fit through the screw. I have one mounted here, and there you go. I just need to connect a turnbuckle there with a ball cup, put a ball here, and that will be it. Alright, and here is the chassis. Decided to throw some wheels on it. Check the front steering. It doesn't have a tire on it now, but that will be a clearance issue right there. So this way, nothing there, but there is a lot of steering. That's all that matters. Just have to figure out how to do the steering now. Yeah, this upper arm configuration is very simple. And if I want to add more caster, I can add or subtract spacers on this long screw. Okay, so these arms don't really work well. As you can see, it barely pushes it out that way. It pulls on it nicely, but that's to be expected. So yeah, I'm gonna see how I can alter this design to work for my application. Just to push it out more. So these can be extended. So I went back inside and was looking around. I knew I had one missing bag because I didn't see it here. I have it right here. Now what I need in here are these steering extensions. Now before I went and looked for this, I actually printed some out. Now these will work too, but I'm going to be using these anyway. So let's get the steering put together. With the extension, it's still just a little short, so I decided to mount it the other way, which makes it a little longer. Unfortunately, the threads on the ball ended up ruining the piece. I couldn't get it out. Fortunately, I had the 3D printed ones, so I decided to use those instead. With the extensions mounted the other way, it pushes the wheel out further, which is pretty much where I want it to be. and with the other steering pieces installed, I was able to achieve the high steering angle I was looking for. It's crazy to see a TT01 with this much steering angle. Well, alright. I'm really happy with that. This was surprisingly simple. Now there is one little issue with this, and that's the kingpin angle from these hubs, or KPI. You can see there on the lower control arm it mounts that far out compared to the upper control arm. Now there are hubs that have a whole mess load of holes on them so you can mount it where you want, but these only have those holes. I may attempt to drill another hole further this way on the top just to reduce the KPI. It kind of throws the wheel around a bit. You can see how massive that angle is right there. That's due to the KPI. I mount the upright to my vise and carefully place it under the drill and carefully drill the hole out. Now it's important to center punch your part first before drilling it, especially if it's metal. Okay, that looks a lot better now. You can see where I mounted that. You can see where the original hole was on the inside there. And then I have it mounted there. So now that angle did shallow up. It's still there, but that's acceptable to me. It is running a good amount of caster, but again, that's fine. I also added a top brace here with some parts that actually screw into the long screws here. These are 35 millimeters long, by the way. So now that's all tied in. So all that's left is to put the electronics in it, dial it all in, and wait for my radio system to come in because it's on a shipping delay. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be here today, but yeah, let's get this buttoned up and ready to be run. Not ready to run, ready to be run. I installed a 13-turn brushed motor along with the steering servo. I cut off the Tamiya battery connector from the ESC and solder on Dean's connectors. This is what I normally use for all my RCs. Check it out! My radio finally came in, so now I can button everything up. Show this to you real quick. This is just a cheap GoolRC 2.4 system. Very basic, but should do the job. Also, when you're starting out in this hobby, this is something you don't want to cheap out on. Like I just did. I'm gonna just see how this performs. It's very cheap on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. I finished wiring everything up, connecting the ESC to the receiver and the steering servo to the gyro to the receiver. And after I test the electronics and do a quick alignment, it's ready for a test run. The initial tests were pretty good actually. I later realized the rear suspension wasn't properly aligned. The rear upper control arms have spacers, so I just adjusted those and everything ended up working just fine. I apologize if that footage wasn't too great because I can't hold the camera and drive at the same time. But yeah, man, this is great. I'm very satisfied with it and surprised with how easy it was to do this. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this one. This was my rear-wheel drive TT01 build. Again, surprisingly easy. Yeah, I had these parts just sitting around And I just decided, you know, let me try to do this. And here you go. Out of the parts I had, I got a rear-wheel drive TT01 out of it. Pretty nice. And like I said, this was the chassis that I started out with back in 2006 when I first got into the RC drift hobby. So it's nice to see it back again, keeping up with the times, because it's all about rear-wheel drive RC drifting now. This has been 50-50, obviously. It's been CS. I use Active Hobbies counter steer components for that, and now it's rear-wheel drive. So I hope this helps you if you want to do this yourself. Go ahead and ask me questions in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. And I'll see you guys in the next one.